A boy last week who was 16 in San Francisco told me on television. Thank God we got him to talk. Maybe somebody will start to listen. He said, I got no country, I've got no flag. Now, he's only 16 years old. And I couldn't say you do. I don't have any evidence to prove that he does. They were tearing down his house because San Francisco is engaging, as most northern cities now are engaged, in something called urban renewal, which means moving the Negroes out. It means Negro removal. That is what it means. And the federal government is an accomplice to this fact. Now we're talking about human beings. There's not such a thing as a monolithic wall or, some abstraction called the Negro problem. These are Negro boys and girls who at 16 and 17 don't believe the country means anything that it says and don't feel they have any place here on the basis of the performance of the entire country.
That's James Baldwin in 1963. 1963 was also the year, as I said, of the Birmingham church bombing. 4 little girls killed. James Baldwin giving fiery addresses about what this meant. He would eventually leave the United States. Professor Eddie Glaude, he has been the backdrop of your life. Talk about what he represented then and what it means for today.
Well, I've been thinking about James Baldwin for about 30 years. He's been in my spirit, in my head, at the foundation of my scholarly career in some ways. And what I wanted to do was to think about him as this poet who spoke the truth to our times. And, Amy, he had to come to terms with the fact that the country turned its back on the Black freedom struggle. He had to come to terms with the fact that the nation, in effect, assassinated Dr. King. And he collapsed after 1968, and he had to pick up the pieces. So what I wanted to do was to walk with James Baldwin as he, in some ways, grappled with his moment of betrayal and find resources for us in our moment as we're grappling with our own moment of betrayal. And what I've learned is that he spoke truth. He spoke truth. He insisted that the nation confront the lie, the illusions that protect its so-called innocence. And that became the basis of writing this book in this moment in which Trumpism overdetermined so much of our lives.
And what does he have to... Why did he leave America? Talk about that. And also, what does he teach us about today in this election that we just spoke to Noam Chomsky says that's the most important election in human history right now, here in the United States, in the most powerful country in the world?
Right. So in 1940, he left the U.S. in 1948 because he had to get away. He said the hatred was taking root in him, and either he was going to kill somebody or he was going to be killed. And so he left Harlem and went to Paris. And there he engaged in this extraordinary act of self-creation where he willed himself into being a writer, but he had to do it outside of the country so he could at least breathe, so he could find the space to imagine himself otherwise, to deal with what was deposited in his gut. And it's precisely, I think, the Baldwin as witness, Baldwin as someone who tried to make real the suffering, that is the lesson we need to learn today. He insisted, Amy, that we tell the truth about who we are and what we've done, that we put aside the myths and illusions and understand what white supremacy has done in terms of disfiguring and distorting the character of this nation. In this moment, we have the forces of authoritarianism clashing with the forces of democracy. In this moment, we have the nation trying to confront what will it be? And the question is, will it double down on its ugliness? Will white folks simply double down on being white folk again? And do we have to deal with another generation, my son and his children, having to deal with the implication and the consequence of that dastardly and ghastly decision to be white?